Let's talk about Crusoe. This is a pre-IPO company. And look, they're not just another name riding the AI wave. They are literally building the foundation, the very infrastructure that this entire revolution is running on. So today, we're taking a hard look at this critical infrastructure layer because it's what's going to define the next decade of tech. For real.
So let's just start with the size of the prize here. $740 billion. That's the projected size of the cloud AI market by 2030. I mean, that is just a staggering number. And growth like that, it creates this absolutely insatiable demand for one thing: pure computational power.
Okay, but a market that huge creates an equally huge challenge, right? These AI models, they need an insane amount of energy and really specialized infrastructure. So if you're a serious investor, the question you should be asking isn't if AI is going to grow. We all know it is. The real question is, who can actually power it? Who's got the muscle to physically make it happen?
So, to answer that, here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with the investment thesis right up front, then get into the transformation, the energy moat, the growth and validation, and finally, the pre-IPO valuation case. Let's jump in.
All right, Section 1, the investment thesis. We like to give you the answer first, so let's get right to it.
So here it is. We see Crusoe as a vertically integrated leader in AI infrastructure. They're in a perfect spot for just exponential growth, and here's the key part. We think they're currently undervalued compared to their peers. The bottom line is, we see this as a uniquely defensible, totally integrated powerhouse that the market just hasn't priced correctly yet. And with a clear shot at a 2026 IPO, we think there's a major opportunity here for investors who get in now to really capitalize on that gap between its private valuation today and where it's going to be on the public market. So let's break down exactly why we think that.
Okay, first pillar of the thesis, a truly strategic transformation. This all rests on a brilliant, absolutely decisive pivot by the management team. I mean, these guys saw exactly where the puck was going and completely re-engineered the entire company to get there first.
You know, it's kind of crazy to think that just a couple of years ago, in 2023, Crusoe is basically a Bitcoin mining infrastructure play. But then, fast forward to early 2025, and management makes this incredibly bold move. They sell off their entire 250 megawatt mining business. They just shed all that volatility from the crypto world to go all in on the steady, long-term growth of AI. This wasn't a minor tweak. It was a complete, deliberate transformation.
And this really shows you just how dramatic that shift was. I mean, look at this. In 2023, a full 86% of their revenue came from crypto mining. AI, it was just this tiny little 14% sliver, almost like an experiment on the side. Now look at the picture for 2025. A complete flip. 100% of their revenue is projected to come from AI cloud and data center development. Crypto is gone, 0%. Like I said, this wasn't some slow, gradual shift. It was a total metamorphosis. They completely repositioned themselves to be a pure play in one of the fastest growing markets on the planet.
All right, let's get to the second pillar. And this one is my favorite. It's their unbeatable energy moat. This is the thing that truly, truly separates them from everyone else out there.
So, to really get why this moat is so powerful, you have to ask yourself a question. We all hear about the GPU shortage, right? Everyone's talking about chips. But what's the other massive bottleneck holding AI back?
It's energy. Simple as that. Raw, reliable, and hopefully affordable power. The demand from data centers is just exploding. Think about this. By 2030, they're on track to use 10% of all electricity in the United States. This isn't just some small problem. It is the fundamental barrier to scale for the entire AI industry. And this, right here, is where Crusoe's strategy is just genius.
See, Crusoe didn't just try to solve the energy problem. They made it the very foundation of their entire business. They're totally vertically integrated. It starts with sourcing stranded or wasted energy. You know, stuff like flared natural gas or wind and solar power that can't get to the grid. Then they build their own modular data centers right there, on site. And those data centers then power their own high-performance AI cloud platform and services. It's a closed loop.
And the difference this makes is just night and day. You've got their competitors sitting around for years in these grid connection queues, dealing with insane power costs. Meanwhile, Crusoe just bypasses the grid altogether. This lets them stand up massive AI data centers in less than a year, and get this, operate them at a nearly 40% lower cost. That is their moat, and it's pretty much unbeatable.
Okay, so a killer strategy is one thing,
But you have to execute, right? Well, that brings us to our third pillar, the proof. We're talking about unprecedented growth and validation from the biggest names in the game.
I mean, just look at this roster. It's a who's who. They're a key partner with Microsoft, OpenAI, and Oracle on the massive $500 billion Stargate AI supercomputer project. NVIDIA isn't just sending them chips, they're a strategic investor. That means Crusoe gets priority access to the latest and greatest GPUs. Then you've got a $15 billion JV with Blue Owl and Primary Digital for financing, and partnerships with energy giants like Equinor and Devon. You can't ask for better validation than that.
And of course, that validation translates directly to the bottom line. The revenue growth is just explosive. We're looking at $250 million in 2024, jumping to a projected $2.3 billion by the IPO target year of 2026. And by 2030, they're forecasting almost $24 billion. The scale of this ramp-up is just off the charts.
202%. Let's just let that sink in for a second. That's the projected compound annual growth rate from 2022 to 2026. This isn't just fast growth, this is pure hypergrowth. And it's all driven by a fundamental market need that, frankly, only Crusoe is really equipped to solve at this scale.
Okay, so this brings us to the final pillar, and this is the really actionable part, the pre-IPO valuation case. We've seen the strategy, we've seen the insane growth, so let's dig into the numbers and see why we think this is such a compelling opportunity for investors right now.
All right, let's break this table down because the whole story is right here. Look at that first line, EV to revenue. It's basically what the market is willing to pay for $1 of sales. Looking out to 2026, Crusoe is sitting at a 7x multiple. Now look at their public comps. They're trading closer to 10x. So right off the bat, Crusoe looks cheap. But here's the real kicker. Look at the next line, growth rate. Crusoe is clocking in at 200%. The public AI cloud comps, maybe 20%. The data center guys, 13%. So you've got a company that's cheaper, but growing 10 times faster. That massive disconnect, that is the opportunity right there.
So let's just boil it down. What's the opportunity here? Simple. You've got a company that trades at a big discount to its slower growing peers. It's growing exponentially faster than any of them. And on top of all that, it has a stronger balance sheet. That capital-light JV strategy for building data centers? Absolutely brilliant. They get to expand like crazy without loading up on debt.
So, what does this all add up to for an investor? Well, based on its current private valuation of $16 billion, our analysis points to a target 2x return on investment by the time of the planned 2026 IPO. That's a doubling of your money. And that's the real, tangible upside we see from the market eventually closing that valuation gap we've been talking about.
You know, there's a perfect way to think about this. In this massive AI gold rush, a lot of companies are selling the shovels, providing GPU cloud access. And that's a great business. But Crusoe, they're doing something much more fundamental. By controlling access to cheap, abundant energy, they don't just sell the shovels, they own the mines.